Top issues on the new Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's agenda will be dealing with the ongoing cost of living crisis. And a question that I'm asking you all is whether or not you think he's to blame for it, frankly, given his role as Chancellor during the pandemic. But as of September, 45% of adults who paid energy bills were finding it very or somewhat difficult to afford them, up 5% from June. That's according to fresh data from the Office for National Statistics, which is very difficult to say. The price of food staples are also soaring, so the lowest priced items have increased in cost by around 17% over the 12 months to September. So, what can Rishi do to solve this crisis? Joining me now is co-founder of Regionally Justin Urquhart Stewart to discuss this. Can I just ground ourselves a little bit in the past, if that's OK, and ask how much is Rishi Sunak, as the Chancellor during the days of furlough and Eat Out to Help Out and all of those schemes, how much is he to blame for our current economic mess?
Well, is it an individual or is it collective responsibility?
Well, these days it's an individual, isn't it?
Well, yes, he's going to be pinned down because his name was at the bottom of it, most of it. No, a good proportion of this is global. And those people are saying it is international. There are international effects. We know whether it's the war in Ukraine, impacting on commodities, slow down prices in China, slowing growth there. So we've seen inflation coming through. However, that aside, we're all suffering that. Britain's got its own particular issues, particularly related to what happens with Brexit. Now, it has actually, as people were talking about before, actually will be taking money out of the economy. It was actually, in effect, making us poorer. But on the other hand, some of the policies that he was actually putting forward have actually made life more difficult. We've been seeing very little growth. So you may not necessarily like what our very temporary Prime Minister before was going on about saying growth, 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 at a time when the rest of the world wasn't. It's very difficult indeed to try and spark that.
Justin, can I just interject on that particular point? Because that's something that we've been talking about a lot here on GBNews, and I know that our viewers and our listeners care deeply about. All right, Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng's communications was absolutely nil. It was a radical budget, mini-budget, with no explanation given to it whatsoever. And the comms were bad, and that's what did for them. But the reality is it's played into people's hands, Justin, who go, hang on a minute, the grey men in suits have now taken back control. The World Economic Forum have got their man. It's the status quo all over again. And what that means is no growth, and we're all skint.
Well, the answer is there can be growth if we focus on those areas where you're going to be, take on the best parts of developing it. Now, if we look at old-fashioned manufacturing, you're right, we're not going to see much growth there. Germany's focused a lot on manufacturing excellent cars, but the future economy is not going to be based on that. No, the future of the economy for someone like Britain focus on our good bits, technology, where we're really good indeed, setting up smaller companies and growing those. Those are companies which we know are in demand for the rest of the world, because the rest of the world comes in and buys them off us and takes all the intellectual property and the knowledge. Wealth, I may go to Europe, goes to America. We're very bad at not just starting companies, we're good at that, growing companies. And that's what he could be focused on. And I'm afraid the politicians over the past 10 years haven't really done that. They haven't really focused on the areas which need to grow and develop. I'm quite happy to just have a free market where you develop a company, someone comes and buys it, off it goes, keep the money.
There are serious concerns, Justin. There are serious concerns amongst many, many people that Rishi Sunak is not maybe nationalist enough when it comes to the economy. This guy wants some kind of international digital currency or whatever, right? Actually, is it time that he got off his Goldman Sachs high horse and started focusing on what is best for Britain? Is that unfair?
Well, it is in terms of actually, is he going to play to the local banking community, which is we've seen with a lot of these people coming out of the city, including me, who have seemed to have sort of follow a strange path the whole way, which is almost, it really says, just sort of status quo. Some of the investment banks are very dynamic in what they do, but it's hardly new. Whereas actually what you do need to have is some freer thinking, saying, right, where do we get more capital from? There is no shortage of money in this economy. It's a matter of directing it towards those growth areas. And unfortunately, if you come from a large background of investment banking, that doesn't actually teach you much about how to run a business day to day. The smaller businesses, and the smaller businesses in Britain, as you know, are the largest employers. So, it's all very well saying, I've got a city background. But have you actually had your hands in the dirt, actually just running small businesses, getting them going and fighting at the moment now really bad issues with regard to energy and commodity prices? They're the ones who are going to be the weakest ones, and that's where our growth should be.
OK, all right, good stuff. Justin, thank you very much. Justin Urquhart Stewart, their co-founder of Regionally. We are going to be discussing a bit later on as well numerous different aspects to this cost of living crisis. Have you been feeling the pinch? I mean, the price of pasta and bread and butter and goodness knows what else has been going through the roof. Some basics up 17% in not a long period of time.